tailoring companies and growth. That's something I'd like to see what you think of that. I was talking to someone and they were saying that, I went to 4 different places and I couldn't grow my skills in any of those places because there simply weren't enough positions. And so if I would go to one company, the highest, it's very similar to what you once told me. The highest position I could ever acquire would be replacing the head cutter, or maybe just working alongside them in the best possible scenario. Or if I would really become a master tailor, the highest position I would be able to attain would be head coat maker or head trouser maker or whatsoever. What's your take on that? How do you see the opportunity spectrum in tailoring companies? Do you think there are problems there? Do you think there things can be improved? And I know you have experienced both education in the what do you call it, the college side of learning tailoring there, and then also on the tailoring work floor in professional shops. What do you think? What's your take on that?
It's interesting how you've approached the question, which is from a businessman's perspective or business owner's perspective.
Yes.
Um, and again, it just so happens that you're striving for that individualism. But there are many who wouldn't. And there's just as much worth in being a coat maker without having to seek growth within the hierarchy of a tailoring house as there is in being at the top of the food chain within it. Yeah, is and if you wanted it, like, I don't see it being difficult in getting it. Like, wait enough time and you'll climb the ladder. Show enough incentive. But
I must also say that when I say growth, I don't necessarily mean. I mean, that's what this person said, but if I would expand it a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily mean that everyone who comes in can also immediately become like the CEO of a company or whatsoever. But I meant it more in the sense that when the positions are very limited, the tasks that you're going to perform are going to be limited. And if you are performing limited tasks, then there is only so much you can make money wise from, like, as a tailor. And I know that a lot of tailors they do say that, look, if there was one thing that I would change, I would like to get paid a bit more, which is it's a legit thing, because you've chosen to be a coat maker for the rest of your life,
like
or a
tailors,
trouser.
like established tailors or apprentice tailors asking to be paid more.
No, established tailors, I would say.
Established tailors asking to be paid more.
Yes,
Really?
yes. Because well, it depends on also what every tailoring house makes different things, and they take a different time frame to make. But when you are working on something and you see it as a job, I think at some point everyone wants to do better, right? Yes, you want to have sustainable income and you just want to have the safety. But then if you are not able to develop your craft at the same time so that you become more relevant to the company you're working for, you can be replaced very easily. Like, maybe you have been working for 10 years with a company and you know their style and you know the people. But at some point, if a business person decides that, look, you're not making as much as you were 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or you're not really adding any more value to the company, but this person is, then the chance of you being replaced could be higher. I'm not saying that that would happen, but it could be. And so for me, growth is more like, how can you expand your craft in a way that what you're doing today is so much better than 10 years ago,
Right.
In that sense, I mean.
Right. Coming back to my comment about tailors being
Go for
paid
it.
more and putting a face.
Putting a face.
I'm sure there are some that aren't paid enough. So apologies to those that find themselves in that situation. But as a general rule, I think it can be said that if you're a coat maker or trouser maker and that you've been established for a while, things are pretty comfortable. So reason for my grimace, and apologies
Mm-hmm.
to those who might have taken offense to that. So the growth in which you're speaking about, it comes from like a wish to sort of strive for more personally, and therefore
Mm-hmm.
relying on a company to sort of bring you that. I don't see how that sort of. Are you saying that? Sorry, I don't really understand. Are you saying that the companies that tailors are working for aren't sort of giving them enough incentive to be better, or what is it
Oh
you're
yes,
alluding to?
that's
Right.
definitely
Okay.
that's definitely a part. But let me speak from my own experience,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I
Okay.
want to that because it's so. I moved to London wanting to learn tailoring. The initial thing, and I didn't know whether I was going to be good at it or whatsoever. I just thought this is going to be my thing. Let's see how it goes, right? So I moved to London. I do Newham. I noticed that I have some talent. I seem to be learning things quicker than majority of people around me, right? Okay, so maybe it was a good choice. Then I go to Savile Row, wanting to learn the way it is supposed to be done. Obviously, that's a naive thought because first day you walk in, you know there are hundreds of ways of doing things, and all of them are in disagreement with one another, and sometimes some of them don't even work. They're just things that people made up just to suit themselves because they couldn't improve beyond that, right? Then I think, all right, what do I need to learn? I have to learn X, Y, Z. Okay, let me try to learn X, Y, Z. So I learn X, Y, Z. Then I notice, hey, I've got some creative ideas. I'd like to do a little bit more. Maybe I want to spend 10 minutes more on doing this just to get it perfect. Maybe I want to think about innovating around a technique. Remember when we were at Newham and you said, how can you make sure that cross pockets don't gape? So maybe you have to do, and then you came up with this mechanism of if you put this there and you do that, then maybe if after use it, you came up with a hypothesis, right? And so that's the willingness to, that's the desire to innovate, right? But then if a company is limited in what they are doing and they have a set system, let's say, and they want to just produce that because it buys them time, money, and all of that, you as the innovator are very limited what you can do. There is no position in that company that allows you to do more than you have learned. They say, look, learn this and do this. And if you don't like it, fine, leave or go to somewhere where they do want to do it, right? So those are roughly your options. And what I would think then is, why wouldn't there be positions like, or not even positions, but activities like, okay, let's improve this part of our system. Let's improve that part of the company. Let's have, because ready-to-wear does that. When you have a ready-to-wear company, they bring people who are technicians. Those technicians are able to communicate with each other. They say, look, purely the business model that we have demands from us that we should
Yeah. I
find
mean,
a way.
okay. I see where you're heading. I think it's what you're alluding to is that the overarching figure that's sort of dictating how things are done is unwilling to come away from what has been done for ages, right? And that what has been done for centuries doesn't need to be improved upon. Is that just a symptom of tradition? Is that just, you know, old guys generally not wanting things to change and also thinking that the way they were taught is the best way, and someone coming along and saying then makes them feel a little bit bad about the fact that they've been doing it for so many years and it might not have been great. There's also I don't know. I know when I was coming in, that I had a stinking attitude with regards to wanting to change stuff, and I think that's quite dissuasive as well. In that you're stepping on toes and you're bruising, not bruising egos, but you're put it more kindly. I mean, people who have pride in the ways in which they've been making things for decades don't necessarily want to be told that what they're doing isn't the best way of doing it, do they? Yeah, but that's what you're here for, right? You're doing a lot of research into bettering techniques, and you're sharing it, more importantly, which is really great.
Well, I try.
I can only imagine how great it would have been for us to have had the resources that you put online at the time when we were at Newham. That would have been fucking fantastic.
Well, I think then Newham would be. I mean, I'm not that far into the project, but I think if we did have a complete set of contents that would show you everything me and you have been learning in the past 5-6 years, then majority of those hassles and those weird moments would not be relevant anymore. They would. It would open up time and energy for other things, maybe, and perhaps speed up the learning curve.